The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
The custom of bumping glasses with the cheers came from Old Rome. When in Rome, cheers!
A pork crown roast with cranberry stuffing deserves a ripe, fruit-forward Cabernet from Paso Robles. Let me help you find the perfect bottle.
Looking for the right wine for a meaningful gift? Consider me your wine concierge.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you. This holiday, now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
Sitting here with wiffle ball champion Michael Russo.
Not yet.
He's declined to sign any autographs. But we all know. I mean, you've been on the performance-enhancing drugs for a long time. I think you're going to dominate the competition. When are you actually going to go out and embarrass yourself again?
Sunday at, I don't even know the times. I think 2 o'clock at CHS Field. If you go to whifflewars.com and you can buy tickets to the charity tournament and or not tournament, but I guess it's a tournament. And if you buy those tickets, you could also stay for the Saints game. Or if you have Saints tickets, I think you can come to the wiffle ball as well. I'm on Justin Morneau's team with Dave Simonette from Trampled by Turtles and Dead Man Winter and Eric Stolhansky.
So Justin Morneau, one of the great all-time twins. Dave Simonette, a great artist. What are you bringing to the table?
Humor, comic foil. I mean, I have a lot of enemies that are that are going to be pitching against me. That are this guy Andy, a friend of mine now that I had just met. He came on our Ireland-Scotland tour a couple weeks ago. I went out. They came over to the Beauty League yesterday, and I went to dinner with them afterwards, and with him and his two of his boys. And they sent me a picture today and say I can borrow this wiffle ball bat. It's this Mark McGuire wiffle ball bat that is one of the old school, like, you know, that you use as a kid, like the big fat, you know, kind of like kind of the end of the bat, which I think is not technically wiffle ball, regulated. But the commissioner, Paul Fletcher, says that I could use it, and it's still not going to help me. But I plan on using that. I think I'm going to go all, like, to me, there's one way. You can go in there all sheepish that you're going to embarrass yourself in front of Justin Morneau and all the fans, or you can just go there and just, know that
you're going to embarrass yourself.
Exactly. So I think I'm going to go all out, buy the stirrups, maybe some eye black, some pine tar. Remember those flip down glasses?
Oh yeah.
I remember when I had that playing Little League. I thought I was so freaking cool.
And you should call yourself Mookie.
Yeah, that Mookie Wilson is my brother's favorite baseball player ever.
And Mookie Blaylock was the first name of Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
So just call yourself Mookie.
So yeah.
He's Michael Russo. This is the Russo-Souhan Show, part of the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network. Thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria. Thanks to Fixology Repair in the Mall of America, 3rd floor up by Nordstrom's. Thanks, as always, to Crown Bank, crown-bank.com. And our next live show, I'm going on vacation, but we will come back and do a live show, 6 o'clock on the 16th at Hell's Kitchen. We are also planning to do a high school sports show. The debut would be right after the Russo-Souhan Show, myself and John Millay at Hell's Kitchen. Nice. So please check those out. and then Barb Abney's Music from Hell would follow those. So it would be a big, long, entertaining night at Hell's Kitchen.
What
Please
time's
check
that
it
show?
out. Ours is 6.
Okay, good. Thanks.
That's the only one you have to worry about.
Okay.
And then you can hang around and yell at me, John and myself if you would like.
Well, that's going to be an early day because you and I have to be somewhere at 7 a.m. to talk to a bunch of business leaders.
Oh, that's right.
You know, nobody knows business like you and I. Actually, you definitely. You started this great podcast company, but
But I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I just talk.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I think that'll be fun. Actually, we're gonna
actually will be.
Yeah, it's gonna be a breakfast of people that are gonna be very disappointed.
But you know what? We have
Everybody that meets me, I'm just like, I'm sorry.
We have experience in
Came with
disappointing
such high
people. We have
expectations.
perfected the art of disappointing people.
I know.
It is what we do. Speaking of disappointments, oh, that's just not the right transition.
Your haircut,
Well, we could talk about that. See, I actually,
Brandon. I'm sorry, I had to.
I believe.
I mean, just because you're going on a cruise tomorrow doesn't mean you have to shave it all off.
Actually, I think that's exactly what it means.
Remember when this was called the Male Pattern Podcast Network?
Well,
you could take a picture of you right
Yeah.
now and put it on a poster.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, when you're bald, the mullet really doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the gray mullet's even worse.
Yeah.
And I just don't like getting my haircut, so I usually let it grow longer than it should.
But man, that's tight.
Yeah, I know. Well, I like it because I don't think about it. No, you know, when you have this kind of hair, you shouldn't have to own a comb.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
I know. I'm no one to talk. Trust me. Every time I see a picture of like from top angle, like from behind of me, I'm just like even more embarrassed. I didn't like even last the other day. I'm like, wait a minute, because I hadn't seen that view in a long time. I'm like, whoa, the Propecia is not working.
Another sponsorship opportunity, though.
Yeah.
Let's get to the hockey. Nino and Granlund are signed. Granlund signing is the latest and newest news. Anything surprising about either the process or the term?
You know, it's funny. I said to those guys yesterday, Andy and his sons, I'm like, you know, sometimes I wonder what takes so long. Like, I could have negotiated
We could have gotten
these
this
deals done. You know, you knew what these guys were going to be at price wise. Like right now, I've got to think that Foligno is going to sign at 3 years, 2.67 or 2.75 max. And it's like, you know, I said on K-Fan the other day that Granlund was going to come in around 5.8. And so, you know, sometimes you just wonder why it takes so long, and it just does. The process sometimes is the process. It takes a little while. The deadline of exchanging. Nobody wants to get to that point of exchanging arbitration briefs because, as you know, you got to bash your player.
Yep.
And sometimes that's you hurt feelings, and it's just not a good process. So I don't think the Wild wanted to get to a point where they even had to give that information to to Nino and Granlund and kind of put some sour feelings on the table. But I think with Granlund, it is interesting to me that his agent is the one that really was talking lower term deal. 3 or 4 years max, and it was, the Wild were fine with that. I think once they got Nino done at 5 years, I think they really feel comfortable with that number and where this market's going. And I usually try to avoid the comments on my articles on my Facebook Star Tribune page because I think a lot of times fans just don't get it, and I was shocked at people that really are like they're responding like, oh, that's $1 million too much. Well, look, it might be. But then you got to trade the guy because that is the market now. Yep. You can't just say, well, I think Michael Granlund's worth $4.5 million, so that's what we're paying him. The market is what it is. And unfortunately, it's funny. I was talking to a GM the other day, not this GM, that was bemoaning where the market has gone and everything, and I was thinking to myself, well, who created this? Mm-hmm. Like it is. It's. I'm sorry, it is nuts right now that Nino's in a 5.25 range, which immediately set the bar higher for Michael Granlund. But that's where these GMs are signing these guys too, so that created the market. And I told this story the other day on the radio, but I remember in the year 2000, Ray Whitney was coming off a 29-goal season in Florida. And I get a page as I'm driving to Biloxi, Mississippi during the summer for a little gambling staunch that, to call that it was one of those, remember those ESPN beepers that you actually could get text on it? Yep. I thought it was so cool when I had that. Like, wow, oh my God, I get to know a score right now while I'm covering a game. That's back, the young people listen to this are like, really? That's what it was like back then? But yeah.
There used to be phone numbers that you could call to get sports score updates.
Isn't that crazy? should talk about that. Like I was thinking about that ESPN pager and how cool I thought I was. But anyway, I get this page that Ray Whitney signed, and call Chuck Fletcher back, the assistant GM of the Panthers at the time. And so I interview him on a payphone on the side of I-10 on my way, like outside Pensacola as I'm driving to Biloxi. Pull out my little computer and write it in a Denny's parking lot and send it in. But I remember talking to Chuck, and we were bemoaning the fact that he just had to give Ray Whitney over $2 million a year. And oh my God, where is this league going that a 20-goal scorer gets $2-something million? And you look at where it is now. I mean, I know it's 17 years later, and obviously inflation, it doesn't seem like, $3 million a year more for a 20-goal scorer is that much. But, man, I mean, when the cap is 70-something million and you have, two guys making 7.3 on the Wild, one making 6.75, and now you just signed a 5.25 and a 5.8. That stuff, that's, we're talking like 30% of your cap right there, or even more maybe, in my quick math in my head. And so it's a lot of money there to being eaten up by these players, but that's the market now. And what it does, to continue my filibuster as you go to the bathroom, what it does now is, like, next summer, Jason Zucker. Right now, if Jason Zucker wants to be here long term when his contract's up next summer, and he might, because he's about to have another baby in October, and is really his first child. He has a stepdaughter, and if he wants to stay in Minnesota long term, which I know he does because his wife and his wife's family is from here, he might have to compromise. He even if he has a great year this year, he might have to. The Wild might say to him, "Look, we'll give you 6-7 years, but you can't fight for every dollar. You're going to have to come in at $4 million or something like it, And so Dumba, same thing. And you just wonder where this is going. How the heck, even if they want to, do they re-sign Mikko? There's a lot of money being eaten up now. Remember when Charlie Coyle signed his 5-year deal at $3+, and we all thought, oh my God, why would the Wild give him that much money before he proved anything? Well, now look at it. Looks like a bargain.
You're making a point that I often make, is we usually react to long-term contract signings as ridiculous in terms of the amount of money that's put out there, but we all know that the rate of growth is going to continue, and if the player performs, we'll probably think it's a bargain by the end of the deal.
And Granlund's agent is thinking that. He's thinking to himself, even if he has 2 58-point seasons, or 60-point, that in 3 years at 28, when he's still in a peak year, that is going to be so coveted in the NHL, and that if the cap continues to rise, Canadian dollar is higher right now, so that's going to help revenue in the league. And as long as the cap continues to go up, then in a couple of years, at 28, he can sign a deal in the 6-7 range. And right now, the Wild, to buy out his unrestricted years with the growth rate of where his agent believed he was going to be, they were going to have to go north of $6 million. So 3 years makes a lot of sense, and so that's a little more than I probably explained in the article, but that's a big thing. But now the Wild don't have a lot of cap space. Again, if let's say Foligno gets a little shade under $3 million a year, well, they have 4.7 right now left. I mean, how do you even sign Cullen? Which gets to another point that I've been thinking about lately is, what was the rush to sign Kyle Quincy? Like, you could have signed Nate Prosser or probably a dozen other defensemen for half of that. But they gave $125 to Quincy on July 1. Were people beating down his door? And could you imagine if the Wild just, I know that Nate Prosser has the guys that love the fans that love him or hate him. But let's just, not even Nate Prosser, just anybody that you could have gotten to play for $700,000-800,000. How much could the Wild use that extra $500,000 right now to get a forward?
No kidding.
It just makes no sense.
When you started your filibuster, I had a clean-shaven head. Now I need another haircut.
I know.
At
least you're able to pack for your cruise.
How about this? How about this for a transition? And this haircut would go really well. No, actually, I can't even say that because it's me. But how about this? Scott Dayton's clothes would make even me and this haircut look good.
Yes,
how about that?
That's very good.
Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. Also check them out on Instagram.
For most guys, shopping for clothes isn't their favorite thing to do. That's why Scott Dayton opened up Twill in the Galleria 12 years ago. He wanted to create a relaxed, one-stop shop experience for guys. Twill carries many of the best brands in clothing and is the only Peter Millar crown shop in the upper Midwest. Twill carries everything from suits and weekend clothes to shorts and t-shirts, or even a new outfit for the golf course. You can also put your company logo on just about anything there. When it comes to men's clothing, Scott Dayton and his staff have over 100 years of experience. Check out Twill in the Galleria in Edina or online at twillmn.com. And make sure to mention the podcast.
I actually was at the Galleria the other day having dinner, and I stopped by Twill for a little bit. But
cool.
Scott was gone by that time.
In fact, one of our other sponsors is buying clothes from Twill because of our relationship. So it's a good place to check out. It's a very, very nice shop, very comfortable place. What's the next news item you want to get to here? Because we have a million Twitter questions we can always go to.
There's not a ton of news going on. I mean, they're going to sign Foligno at somewhere. I was talking to Chuck Fletcher the other day, and he said, this could take till Labor Day. And again, I was like, what? Really? 3 years, 267, done.
I know it really is so easy. If you're not in that competitive mode or that mode where they're worried that if they make the first move, they're going to weaken their negotiating stance. It's most of it's silliness. Let's be honest with you.
275. I am surprised that it's just not a simple just get it done deal.
I know.
I mean, I've got to think Foligno wants to definitely create a relationship that's positive right now. He's just traded here. It just seems strange that if he winds up signing on September 1st, but whatever.
Let's do some Twitter questions. Sometimes we usually don't get to Twitter questions anymore when we do the live shows. We do more Facebook Live questions and actual live questions from people in Hell's Kitchen audience. This is a good chance to do a favor for our Twitter followers. Mike Burgoyne, our old friend. I was/am not a Palmerville fan, but we will be lucky if Ennis can equal the 47 points we got from Palmer last year.
Yeah, but it could be more as well. I mean, he's going to play on a quality line. I get it's a risk. If he's hurt or if he doesn't get back to where he was, it's obviously not going to be good for the Wild. But I think that. I guess I'm construing too many connotations into whatever he's tweeting. I agree it's a risk, but Ennis, if healthy, is a very good player that should get 47 points here. If he doesn't, then it's a definite failed first year for the kid.
From our friend Luke Cahill. Luke, you got to come back out to Hell's Kitchen. We haven't seen you in a while. Do Granlund and Nino deserve any credit for making the contract process easy? It seemed to go smoothly without them getting too greedy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not... congratulations to them. I'm not gonna, throw a bunch of bouquets on them though. They're still very handsomely paid. But I mean, look. A lot of times with restricted free agents, it's a formality. I used to be in a lot of ways like fans, where every second during an off season, I was constantly badgering agents and badgering the GM, trying to find out play-by-play of negotiations. I'd write stories that would scare the heck out of fans, like, Michael Granlund and the Wild are $1.8 million apart still, and things like that. And now I just, maybe I've covered the league too long, where and fans want that stuff, but I just let it happen. It's a process. The second they signed for they both filed for arbitration. To me, it was like, all right, my summer is now easy. I don't have to worry about it. Remember 3 years ago when Nino went right up to I think he signed his 3-year deal on his birthday 3 years ago, which is like around September 8th or 10th or something. And I remember, that's where as a beat writer, you're like, geez, I got to constantly check in on this guy because there's a potential contract squabble going into training camp. And now it's just like, it's going to get done. It's a process. The second they were late in their queue, in the arbitration queue, and they had an August 3rd, 4th arbitration dates, you just knew it wasn't going to get done till this week. That's why I was all over Granlund the other day. I mean, I knew that they had a 1:00 phone call, and I knew there was going to be a follow-up, and I decided not to tweet out play-by-play to the fans, but as long as I trusted my source that was going to let me know when this thing was close, I was fine not giving the play-by-play.
Right. So. And, I covered Major League. I covered the Twins and the Vikings for a long time, covered the Cowboys before that, and I can't tell you how many times I covered a negotiation between team and player and got to know the agent, got to know other people in the agency. And, you can write 18 times that a deal's in trouble or, they're way apart. Yep. Then one phone call changes that, they get a deal done.
Well, exactly. And that's what even the morning that Granlund signed, I said nothing is imminent.
Right.
Because I had just talked to Chuck Fletcher. Nothing's imminent, but one phone call is going to change it. And it's going to happen Tuesday. Yep. Yeah. I mean, you knew that the Wild did not want to exchange briefs, because especially the Granlund brief, because the Granlund brief is probably going to have some some negative stuff in there because one, you got to get him down. You got to point out his size, and you got to point out his durability, and you got to point out his playoff numbers, and you got to do that because you're building your case, and so you don't want to give that to a proud, good character human being like Mikhail Granlund, because he's probably not going to get the fact that this is a business and they've got to do that. I can tell you in Florida when the Panthers brought John Van Beesbrook or John Van Beesbrook, his arbitration case, it ruined their relationship. I mean, he was gone within a year and a half because the Wild had to bash, the Panthers had to bash their stud goalie to get him in a contract below $4 million a year, and so that's just the way it works.
Let's awkwardly transition to John Hedges, who runs Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com.
Can I tell you something real
Mall
quick?
of America by Nordstrom's.
So I bought this iPad Pro yesterday because I do stuff like buy things that I don't need.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And they offered me the Apple Care plan, and they're like, because within 2 years, if you break your screen, all that stuff, and well, maybe John Hedges will. I'm like, I kind of know somebody that fixes stuff like that, so maybe he'd give me a deal. So I have 60 days to change that mind, John Hedges. So if you're not going to give me a deal if I break my screen, let me know. So I buy the Apple Care.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at our 2 locations. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at fixologymn on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
All right, let's get back to Twitter questions. Russo's Filter, who runs the Minnesota Sports Fan podcast on this network, check that show out if you haven't already. Is Prosser really just a Trojan horse to take out Allen if the Wild draws the Blues in the playoffs?
Good answer. Good question.
From Eric Promotka, I'm growing more and more salty on the Scandella-Palmer deal. Were there other options out there that the Wild passed on, even for picks or prospects?
Well, I'll just say, it is interesting, like when you look at it and the fact that they're still kind of in cap hell and they really only, saved a little bit of money there cap-wise. They saved a lot more salary-wise, by the way. If you look at the difference in salary between NS Palmerville and then Foligno Scandella, they actually saved a lot, and actually real money, which actually does matter, by the way. We never think like that, but there is that element. But cap wise, they didn't save a ton, and as Mike Burgoyne pointed out, the risk, it's either going to be good reward or they're going to look terrible, because Ennis has missed 90 games the last 2 years. He scored 8 goals. If he's hurt again, it's a disaster. So Palmerville has his bashers in town, but the reality is as you wrote today, I mean, they're one of their best 5-on-5 guys on their team, and the last 2 years had great second halves, and so that's valuable. I mean, you remember a couple of years ago, he was on that Niederreiter Palmerville hollow line after Trichetti took over. It was their best line. Yeah,
I mean, I wasn't the biggest Palmerville fan. I just thought he was a little overpaid, and I felt like the price you trade for him, then you extend him, and I felt like he never quite delivered on what they want him to be, but I also give him credit. He was a good two-way player who had very good stretches.
Yeah.
From Russo Slacks, he just asked, how's the wiffle ball practice going? But I just wanted to ask a question from Russo Slacks so you could groan on tape. That was a good one. From Chase Nelson, any chance under the new 2020 CBA there could be a change where the Wild won't be penalized for the Parisian Suter contracts?
That's hey, they added it in this CBA. I guess why not take it away? If Craig Leopold keeps on telling me at some point at the right time we are going to the league with a case to talk to them about our concerns about this, and so maybe the right time is before that lockout. I don't know. I'm not saying lockout like it's a aforementioned guarantee, but it is.
When's the lockout going to occur?
2020, 2021.
Wow. Enjoy Don Lucia. From Jason Piant, longtime listener, do you think the Wild believes Eriksson Ek can be good on the penalty kill?
Yeah, Boudreaux keeps on talking about that, and he feels like that's a way to get him more ice time right now because, especially if they don't sign Cullen, which, there's a good chance of that now. I mean, you look at this money. Like if I was Matt Cullen, and I haven't talked to him in a little bit here, but if I'm Matt Cullen, I mean, do you really need to play in Minnesota for $1 million? I mean, unless he just needs the money and is bored out of his mind. Like I almost like really destroyed the hearts of fans, but I'm sorry, I will.
Yes.
It can only end in disappointment. Like, they're not going to win the cup. Very good chance they're not going to win the cup.
I agree
right?
with you. I don't think they're going to win the cup.
Yeah. So,
I absolutely agree with
to
you.
Me, I mean, anyway, regardless. That was very negative.
You're salty today.
Yeah.
I like it.
So, but you know what I mean? Look, it's got to, there's only one team that wins the cup, and what's the chances of the Wild? I think most people will tell you that they're not winning the cup next year. Maybe they will. But I don't know. I just, the more I think about it now, I just wonder if he is. And regardless, money is, if he does sign, the Wild are going to have like $700,000, $800,000 in cap space going next year. Like, holy mackerel. He got really lucky last year by not being hurt really at all. And can you imagine that little cap space going into the year? Then, like, I'll tell you one person that I was thinking about today, but like Mike Riley. Like, he's got 20 games of where you could send him to the minors on waivers unless he knocks your socks off in camp. You might almost have to put him down in the minors on a one-way just to save some cap space to start the season. So
there are a lot of things that went right last year until the late fade.
Yeah, until Eric Stahl's concussion in the final game.
Yeah.
They hadn't had a major injury.
Yep.
And
I just have trouble believing they'll be that lucky this year. And there are a lot of things that can go wrong if they're not lucky. Another one from Jason. Actually, first, let's thank Crown Bank, crown-bank.com, locations in Minneapolis and Edina. And they are our longest-running sponsors.
Your banking relationship should match your lifestyle. And if your lifestyle is to live well, you want Crown Bank. You want a bank and a banker who will give you what you want and what you need without a hassle. Crown Bank is responsive. From ordering checks to making you a loan, they build a relationship with you that will help you get what you want so that you can live well. Crown Bank. It's a lifestyle choice and the place to do business. Member FDIC.
Another one from Jason Piant. With the current roster, who would your 2 power play units be?
Well, I mean, Coyle's going to have to be in the middle on one. I mean, they got 2 right shot forwards on the entire roster right now. And one's Chris Stewart, which I don't think he's getting power play time. So you're up front, you're going to have a lot of lefties. But, I mean, obviously you're going to have to, a mix of, let's put it that way. How about a mix of, Parisi, Coyle, Koivu, one unit, Granlund, Niederreiter, maybe Ennis. At some point, they might want to put Foligno as a net front guy. I mean, your defensemen are obviously going to be Suter, Dumba, Spurgeon, and maybe Brodin. They liked Brodin there. Maybe eventually Olsen. If Riley's on the team, I think Riley's got to play the power play. So, I mean, there's a good mix of many options. Again, we're not talking about Zucker, but Zucker's, that's why it's like somebody keeps on... people keep on tweeting me like, when are the Wild going to sign Yager? They're not signing Yager. To play 4th line left wing and not play the power play? I mean, they have enough forwards that can't get on the power play here. That's how big of a juggernaut your Minnesota Wild are. They have
like I said, they're going to win
too
the cup
many
this year.
great players.
They're pretty much guaranteed to win the cup this year, is I think what we've been saying all along.
I mean, I don't understand why Cullen hasn't been signed.
Why are people so negative? From Mary O'Neill, our friend, explain buying a year of Granlund's unrestricted free agency.
Explain what?
Buying a year out of Granlund's unrestricted free agency.
Like why, or you mean explain it? What I mean by it is that in 3 years, after 2 seasons, he's an unrestricted free agent. So what they did is they bought one of his unrestricted years, and they, like in Nino's case, they bought 3 of his unrestricted years, and that's why his cap number went up a little bit, where same thing with Granlund. If they started talking to him about 4 or 5 year deals, which again his agent didn't want to go more than 4, his agent wants him to be paid like the market's going to be potentially in those years. So that's why the AAV, the actual accrued value of this contract or whatever, the salary cap hit, was down. They got it down to 5.8, which again sounds stupid that they got it down to 5.8. But the second they started talking to 4 or 5, they couldn't get his agent to come down below 6. Let's say. So that's what I mean by they only bought one of his unrestricted years.
Right. From Jacob Burkhart, would the Wild play Kunin on the fourth line if they don't sign another center like Cullen? And he also follows up by saying that's assuming Eck is on the third line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing with Cunnin is, I have trouble believing that because I just don't think that a dozen games after playing in college is enough in the minor leagues. I think like Tuck last year, he's going to be in that situation. Maybe they're a little more desperate this year in terms of bodies, but like Tuck last year, I think that they're going to want to put Cunnin in the minors for a while to develop. I do think that if the Wild don't sign Cullen or don't sign Matty Hendricks or Dwight King or some of these other free agents that are out there, Scotty Upshaw, those are some of the names that I'm starting to hear that the Wild are interested in. You're going to bring in guys on tryouts. Last year, Thomas Fleischman would have helped. I mean, he's a good player. Unfortunately, he failed his physical in camp because he had the heart issue. But man, that guy would have helped. And what it would have done, because remember, all year long they were like a veteran player short. Mm-hmm. What it would have also probably done is kept them from making the Hansel trade, which probably would have helped in a lot of ways.
A lot of ways.
In terms of futures.
I actually kind of liked that deal at the time, and you didn't, and you were right.
Well, again, what stinks about it is we knew at the time that they were all in, and the fact that they only wound up going to the first round. Now all of a sudden you look and they don't have you lose your first, you lose your second, you lose another draft pick, and you have an organization right now that's not. That are it's paying. I mean, let's be blunt. They're paying the price for that right now. Yep. They got no prospects in the minors other than Cunnin. They got nothing. And the reason why is because Kaprizov's in Russia and Greenway's still in college, and they just traded Tuck. And so now all of a sudden you look at the overall depth of the prospect pool coming, and there's not a lot because they have traded 5 or 6 second-round picks here in the last several years, and you just eventually that catches up to you, and right now it is.
Got anything else you want to talk about?
And by the way, I only said that not including Eriksson Ek because I consider him, I don't know how he's not a roster guaranteed.
Right. Anything else you want to talk about? Got any music? No.
Let's see. Last week I went to the Billy Joel. Remember we were talking Billy Joel last podcast?
That's right. And we both went.
Yeah, and I actually haven't talked to you about it. I thought he sounded incredible.
I thought his voice sounded incredible, and that is what my takeaway. Stacy and I had different musical tastes when we met, and she wasn't as much in the kind of the classic rock mode as I was. So since we met, I've seen Springsteen, the Stones, Billy Joel, John Fogerty, Elton John, and Jayhawks. We've seen a lot of people. And what really struck me after seeing all those shows is how good they all sound. At 60 and 75 years old, they sound incredible. Billy Joel, he's not my favorite artist, but my God, his voice sounds good.
Well, and what I liked about it that I realized immediately when he started singing, I was like, wow, this is going to start giving me a lot of memories of when I was a kid, because I grew up on Long Island and, listened to Billy Joel and, saw him, as I mentioned, in 1992 in Miami Arena. And so all of a sudden you start thinking about I started thinking about all these memories of me with my big fat Walkman doing my paper route listening to Billy Joel.
That's awesome.
And even like summer camp and how Billy Joel, Piano Man, and all, how many times you hear Piano Man. I think I mentioned to you how I went up to St. John's to help. I can't remember if it was to move out AJ LaPanta or why we went up there, but I went up there and you go to that one really bar in by St. Ben's there, and their I guess their tradition every night is to end with Piano Man with all the students pulling down their pants on the floor.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that's even that jumped in my head. So I mean but and then you see the varying ages of the fans that are there, and you look at there are young people that know who the heck Billy Joel are. There are some people that even Neil Diamond and Sweet Caroline, how they just transcend generations, some songs and some acts and some musicians.
My daughter, her wedding dance song was Piano Man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hold it, that was my song when I was a freshman in high school, and that was 1902.
Yeah. And then the next day I went over to Studio C and met Philip Phillips, which was kind of cool. He's the guy that won American Idol and has a couple hits out. He was a real nice guy. He's from Albany, Georgia, which my best friends from there. And then that night, it was really neat. I went to this thing called Grand Oak Opry in St. Paul, and it's a guy. It's a house in just St. Paul by the arena that they cram 500 people into their backyard and their neighbor's backyard under this giant oak tree, 225-year-old oak tree, and they have these kind of like intimate bands come out. And I guess like this upcoming weekend, I think they have shows back to back nights. And again, it's just in a neighborhood, and there's no price of the ticket. You make a donation at the door. You can go in for free. You can make $5, $10, whatever you want to give. They got a big jug. 100% of it goes to the band. So it's a payday for the band. And the band that I saw is the Pines, and I've gotten to know these guys because they're really good friends with Dave Simonette from Trampled by Turtles and Dead Man Winter. And they were the perfect band for this night. Perfect night in St. Paul, sun going down under a giant oak tree. They're real chill music, and it was honestly a great night. So check out the Pines music. I think they're from Iowa, but I think they all live in the Twin Cities. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
I do think it's funny that you spend so much time hearing headbanging music during hockey games, but most of your personal preferences run toward a little more mellow.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when I write, I'm listening to. Well, it depends on the mood I'm in. Like sometimes, like today, I was writing a piece on Prosser, and I was listening to Trampled by Turtles. The other day, I was listening to Imagine Dragons. Sometimes Sometimes, believe it or not, I'll listen to like stuff like the Decemberists or like
But like I said, it's not exactly Scorpion,
Murphys, But Dropkick Murphys
I like
pretty hard, and I was listening to them last. Depends the mood I'm in. That what I plop in my ear. Because it is. It's funny. We were in Europe on the Scotland Ireland trip, and a couple of people were making note how they could talk me right in the face, and I don't hear them, and it is. Sometimes it's rude. But I think as a sports writer, you're so preconditioned in press boxes to funnel out.
Yep.
When people if you were going to write and you have 18,000 people screaming in front of you, and a couple conversations going behind your ear, if you were distracted by that, you couldn't do your job.
Couldn't function.
So I have gotten very good of just this is my excuse to my mother. I don't hear what you're saying. I've gotten very good of you could be looking me straight in the eye, and if I'm looking at my iPhone, I'm just not hearing what you're saying. That. So, and a lot of it is with the music too. That's why I write with music, because those times it's actually when the arena's empty. But if like the PR people are talking to the right of you, that's when you get distracted. Yep. So I've learned I can't write without music. Even at home, I put in music.
And it used to really bother me that if like somebody was talking loud in the press box when I was on a deadline, and now I've just gotten to the point where I just don't let anything bother me.
Yeah. Except when the computer dies on you. I've seen
the computer dying will bother me a little bit. I will
I've seen
that.
Him, Brandon. I've seen him. He's like, all of a sudden, I'll be having my music on, not paying attention. I'll just see like, mother, God. Him just like
I would never say that.
I've seen you.
Actually, I would actually always say that under those circumstances. We will that out because we have a lot of families who listen to the show. We've really cleaned up our act in that regard. Don't want to offend any lawyers.
Everything was skating along smoothly for Brandon. And
but he's like,
the F word.
Now
Brandon's like, God darn it, that's just added 10 minutes to my day.
Next live show, August 16th, 6 o'clock, me and Mr. Russo, followed by myself and John Millay, who once we get to hockey season, we'll also talk a lot of high school hockey and probably college hockey as well. John used to work for the Star Tribune. Now he works for I can never get the acronym right. The Minnesota State High School League. Travels all over the state doing stories, does really cool stuff, does really good work. So please check that out. August 16th, starting at 6 o'clock at Hell's Kitchen. As always, thanks to Twill in the Edina Galleria, Fixology Repair, 3rd floor of the Mall of America, by Nordstrom's and Crown Bank. Final thought, Michael?
No, I was just actually at work, and Randy Johnson's our new college football writer. And Randy, I don't know how old he is, but he's been on our desk forever. He's
very good editor.
Very
good editor. Yes,
it's good.
We're gonna miss him in that regard.
But it was funny. I'm just in there, and so about a year ago, our summer intern, I don't remember his name, but Joe Christensen and I were helping him set up we were giving him this is really how to be a sports writer. Delta.com, Marriott.com. You connect your Uber to your Starwood, stuff like that. So I go over and I'm like, Randy, how's it going? He goes, I'm on this, I'm on the company travel thing, trying to book things. I'm like, well, have you set up a Delta frequent flyer number? And it looks at me like I'm out, like from outer space. I'm like, first of all, how do you not have a Delta frequent flyer number? But I'm
Even
like, well,
fly
book
once
that.
every 10 years.
Go to Marriott.com and Starwood.com, get some numbers, go to National Enterprise, and then now I'm going to go back to work and help him kind of give him some tips on how to cover.
Brandon, you know what Russo did? He basically he's going to steal all of Randy's points and miles.
Well, actually, what I want to do is now I'm going to. I told Joe I'm going to refer him to all the credit cards because that's when you get these bonus points.
Yeah, that's right.
You need a Marriott credit card, Randy. I think you need a Delta American Express
and a Starbucks card.
Yeah, exactly. So.
He's Michael Russo. This is the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network. Thanks for listening. Again, might be a slow week next week. Check Michael's Twitter feed to see if he ends up doing a show without me. If not, we'll be back August 16th, and we will I believe, also be doing one August 23rd the following week if Michael's in town. But as usual, follow us on social media, and we'll update you. As always, thanks for listening, and as always, thanks for the questions. Again, this is the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Now is the chance to use reliable energy to grow your money with the Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. Our new investment product offers competitive returns, no maintenance fees, and flexible online access to your money. Make the reliable investment in reliable energy. The Dominion Energy Reliability Investment. To find out more, go online to reliabilityinvestment.com. That's reliabilityinvestment.com.
Is your cell phone bill out of control? Then this is your wake-up call. The new TracFone Wireless gives you unlimited talk and text starting at $20 a month, no contract, plus unlimited carryover data with active service. Yep, the new TracFone Wireless. Now you're in control. See terms and conditions at TracFone.com.